Hey guys, as you can see, today we're going to be looking at every set from Star Wars Unlimited. We're going to be ranking it on a tier list, see how each one lines up against each other, talk about some pros and cons, and see what where I think everything lines up. So let's dive right in. First of all, we have Spark of Rebellion. Spark of Rebellion was the first set of Star Wars Unlimited, and since I didn't get into the game until a lot later in the game, a lot of these earlier sets I don't have anywhere near as much experience with. However, having done a lot of research into them, checking out a lot of the significant cards in them, significant mechanics and stuff, Spark of Rebellion is a really cool set, and really continues to be a benchmark for comparing new sets to. A lot of the cards, when we look back at it, compared to cards in the game today, some of them seem very much, very, very powerful. Some of them seem a little bit underpowered compared to how things have developed. But there's a lot of really good cards in Spark. Obviously, it's the foundation of the game. Some really cool characters, and it really has some of the cards that are just not really been replicated since. There's a lot of rares and legendaries that are still pretty valuable, relatively speaking, and useful and eternal. I think one big con for Spark of Rebellion is that a lot of the art styles leave some to be desired compared to a lot of the later sets. But this is certainly a really good set, and I would probably put this at an A. I don't think that it will be at the top of the A tier. There are certainly sets that are better, but it is a good set, and it really is what we compare a lot of the other sets to gauge how good they actually are. For set two, we have Shadows of the Galaxy. Shadows of the Galaxy. In the first set, we see a lot of rebels, specters, imperials, that kind of thing. When we get to set two, we start to dive into some more niche things in the Star Wars universe. We start to see clones from the Bad Batch. We start to see Mandalorians. We see Wookiees. Some really, really cool characters and species. And as as we've started to see more Mandalorians in the game, I've been trying to take a look back more into Shadows of the Galaxy, get some packs, open some stuff. And there's some really, really fun cards. Um, Shadows of the Galaxy as well, like nearly every set, introduces new mechanics to the game. The foundational mechanics of Spark of Rebellion, almost all of which, as far as I know, have continued through every single set. But Shadows introduced two new mechanics. Let's talk about them briefly. First of all, we have Smuggle. Smuggle on the surface at first seems like a really, really cool ability because, generally speaking, we have cards in our hand. We use our resources to pay for those cards and we play them. Makes sense. Once you resource a card, it's a resource, and generally speaking, you don't get to use that card again for its intended purpose printed on the card. You instead simply use it as a generic resource, a generic piece of money, commodity to be spent. But Smuggle gives you the opportunity to have a card become about twice as versatile as it would otherwise be, meaning that you're going to be having it in your hand, you can play it as a card, or you can resource it and then play it later. Sometimes it's going to cost more. Occasionally, sometimes it would be in a different aspect color. For example, there's a Chewbacca that is an 8 cost blue when you play it from your hand, but when you smuggle it, I think it's an 8 cost red, which is really interesting. Um, but smuggle seems on the surface like a very good keyword, but in practice, I don't see too much use of it or use for it. Um, it can add some nice versatility, but frankly, the extra cost that you're using to pay it from your resources makes it less desirable. The other one that Shadows introduced was the bounty keyword, which, let's be honest, is probably the worst keyword in the game. I don't necessarily know what the idea was for making a bunch of cards that basically give an immediate positive effect to your opponent whenever they're defeated. I feel like them being defeated is a positive effect enough most of the time, uh, based on most cards, unless those cards are like super overpowered, which frankly most of them don't seem to be so. Um, Now, you could argue that it's thematic because of what is going on in the set, but I would argue that set 7 deals um, with that world, that bounty hunter idea, a lot better in its mechanics and card designs than Shadows of the Galaxy did with Bounty and even Smuggle. So between those two keywords, it really doesn't come out very well. It's kind of a wash, but some of the cards are really cool, and the art did improve, I think, between Spark and Shadows, even though it still had a ways to go. I think Shadows is a good set, an okay set, not a great set. I'm probably gonna have to put it. Um, Probably gonna have to put it in C, top of the C. It might go in the bottom of the B tier, but just based on looking at some of the other sets that are coming up, it's going to be hard to argue that Shadows is better than most of them. Next up, we have set 3, Twilight of the Republic. Twilight of the Republic. So, I feel like if you know the game, this set is kind of infamous in just how bad of a set, in some ways, it is. And it is kind of bad. First of all, let me start by saying the subject matter is awesome. The card art is much better than the sets that came before it. The chosen characters and vehicles and locations are amazing. It's awesome. The thematic material is just so good. Um, but unfortunately, that's kind of where the pros end, and most of the rest are cons. I'm not going to say, of course, that there's a blanket statement of like every card in Twilight is trash. That's certainly not true. But I will say that every time I see a card and go, man, that's really bad, I often think, is that from Twilight? And nearly every time it is. I find it funny that every card I see and go, man, that's bad. It's almost always from Twilight. I don't know why that is. It's just, it's some of the card designs just don't really make sense. And that's not even approaching the keywords. The keywords have their own problems. Let's talk about them for a minute. Exploit. Exploit is the separatist keyword. It's based around the idea that separatists, in their military strategy, valued well, they valued overwhelming with small value rather than attacking with a smaller number of greater value. And so you're looking at the fact that separatists considered these battle droids to be expendable. And so what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to these, exploit the resources that I have. I'm going to consider my cards, my units, as resources, not just my resources. And so it's kind of a cool mechanic. I enjoy exploit. I have a Dooku deck that I really enjoy. I think exploit is super fun, and of course, it gave us one of the coolest events in the set, and the most expensive card on the set, a 15 cost event called the Invasion of Christophsis, which is quite literally an exploit 4 event. Fascinating. I love looking at that card. Love to build a deck around it too, but it's crazy. But exploit generally though doesn't really work competitively because you're defeating your units to get better units out, but your opponent usually isn't doing that. So, does it work? Maybe, if you do it right. It doesn't seem great. I think it's fun and thematic, but it doesn't work as well. The other keyword is coordinate. Coordinate, see, if bounty didn't exist, coordinate would be the worst keyword. Um, some people, I think that, exploit is worse than coordinate. Coordinate's better. I disagree. I think coordinate is worse than exploit because basically what you're doing is your cards are just mid unless you can get a bunch of them out there. But if your opponent prevents you from getting a bunch of them out there, then you just have mid cards, which isn't really the case with exploit. With exploit, you're always going to have units. Sometimes you're going to be able to defeat some of those to put in bigger units early, or you're just going to be able to stay on curve, and it's fine. But with coordinate, a lot of your abilities depend on that added rowing up your cards. So now, approaching those two as very lackluster keywords, I also have to mention that thematically, while they seem really cool thematically, It always bothers me that they really aren't thematic, though. Let me explain why. The Republic's strategy of war was completely different from the Separatist strategy of war. The Separatist strategy of war was, these droids are expendable, so we will just throw a bunch of them at the Republic forces and we will overwhelm them, right? The Republic strategy was, we can train clones and Jedi to be better warriors by far than a droid would, and therefore they will have success over a larger number of droids, even though there's less of them. And you say, well, yeah, isn't that just exploit and coordinate? But it's not, because the end result when you're playing a coordinate deck is you need to have a bunch of units to get your abilities. The end result of an exploit deck is that you need to have less units at the end because you've exploited them to get your bigger power out. So the end result of how you have to play your deck is in fact the complete opposite of how the Republic and the Separatists, respectively, operated as armies. And it boggles my mind how in the world that was. It bothers me. Like, it's nerdy, but like, it bothers me so much because it's the complete opposite effect. You're winding up with a bunch of clones instead of just a smaller number of clones that are really good. And then you're winding up with just a few really good Separatist units rather than a bunch of battle treads. The end result is the complete opposite of what is actually the strategy of the respective military forces. So that just bothers me. Now, I will say, like I said, I already mentioned the Invasion of Christophsis. There are some really cool cards in Twilight. There are certainly some good cards in Twilight, for sure. And some fun cards in Twilight. And of course, it's clones, so it's just cool anyways. But unfortunately, just because of the sheer number of horrible, horrible designs and the really, really weird, hard to make work, and tragically unthematic mechanics, keywords, I really unfortunately don't have anywhere else to put this but F. I don't see any reason to consider it any better than F, and you can't tell me that any of the other sets are worse than it. You simply can't make that argument to me. You can't. And the fact of the matter is, to this day, the cheapest box you're going to buy is a box of Twilight. A box of Twilight is so cheap. Just be, I was joking around once. We're like, man, there's only gonna be so many boxes of Spark Rebellion in the coming years. And I said, of course, there'll always be boxes of Twilight, though. Oh boy! All right, moving on. We're gonna move on jump to set 4. Set 4 is Jump to Lightspeed. Now this is where things start to get really cool. The introduction of a brand new mechanic called piloting. Now we're gonna look at we got smuggle, bounty, exploit, coordinate. Those were the keywords that were introduced. Then you get Jump to Lightspeed, and you get piloting. Oh my gosh, it blows all of those other keywords out of the water. It is so good, it is so cool, it is so thematic, and it is super powerful. We're taking the concept of upgrades, of adding power and abilities to cards, and we're making it a thematic thing more so than it was before. Like before, maybe you could attach like a lightsaber to Luke. Now we're saying, let's add Han Solo to the Millennium Falcon. And it's just this really, really cool interaction. Let's make him so that he can attack. If you attach him to the Millennium Falcon, he gets extra value as soon as he is attached, right? And so all of these super cool pilot mechanics and fun things, like one of my favorite things is like the R2D2 pilot. That means that you can add an additional pilot, so you can have 2 pilots. But if you attach that to the Millennium Falcon, then you can have, that already says that you can have an additional pilot out, so you can have 3 total pilots on that, and that unit gets +1 for each pilot that's on it, which means you can get like a 14 power Millennium Falcon swinging up there in space. Super cool. These mechanics are awesome. You can see I might be a little biased against JTL, and I think that might be just because the decks that I play, I love pilots. One of my decks that I've been playing a lot in weekly play over the last, the Lawless meta has been Darth Vader pilot from JTL, and it's just such a blast. All the TIE Fighter tokens, you the clone combat squadron, and then you're just buffing that. You're plotting stuff out. It's just so much fun. So much fun. Jump to Lightspeed is a really good set with really good cards and cards that still retain a lot of value. A lot of value. So, Jump to Lightspeed, in my opinion, is see, it's hard. It's hard because I'm thinking about what we're gonna have ahead, and we might adjust this as it goes on. But I really think that it has to go in the A tier. I think it has to go in the A tier. I think it has to go above Spark, right? Does it have to go above Spark? I think it does. Because if we think about mechanics, the piloting mechanic just really just sets it apart so much. It's such a good set. I love Jump to Lightspeed. All right, let's move on to set number 5, Legends of the Force. So when I think different people like different things about the Star Wars universe. For me, the biggest thing that I love is the Jedi. I love the Jedi. I think it's just such a cool story, a cool saga, really cool world building, and Legends of the Force just takes that to a whole new level. Especially at the time when the Republic was at its height, when the Jedi were at their peak, and Legends of the Force is just such a good set. Um, the addition of the Force mechanic is fascinating. Is it like super competitive? Maybe not. There's very few Force decks that are super competitive. I know there's Talzin is really good. Obi-Wan is really good. Aside from that, not a lot these days really has a good chance of being successful competitively. But the mechanics are just super cool. The cards are awesome. The characters, people like I said, I mentioned the Obi-Wan leader. The Obi-Wan leader's awesome. You can put in so many great units. I have an Obi-Wan deck. I love that. Super cool. Legends of the Force was a really awesome set. This is a set that I think I also have to put in A. I will put it just I think I will put it below Spark of Rebellion just because the main mechanic it involves is it it's fun, it's very thematic, um, and it's more competitive than a lot of the others, but still not quite as on the spot. But that's Legends of the Force. I love Legends of the Force. Before I move on as well, I have to talk about the fact that Twilight of the Republic and Legends of the Force. Twilight of the Republic is out of rotation. Legends of the Force will be rotating out in March, I think. I have to say, if the first set of 2027 is not Republic era with Jedi and clones, I'm honestly going to be pretty mad because I want my Jedi. I want my clones. And not having, there's really no clones in the game right now, almost none. And the only Jedi, for the most part, except for a few here and there, you think about the Obi-Wan in set 7, they're all from Legends of the Force. And there's even great Jedi from Twilight that I enjoy playing in my Force decks from Legends of the Force that they're not legal anymore. So we really need to see return of clones and Jedi. Now we did see a little bit of that in TS26, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but we need to see more of that in 2027. That I'm convinced that needs to be the first set they release in 2027, and I'm moderately sure that is what they will do, just because I know that they know the popularity of those specific sects, those specific traits, tribes of cards. So let's hope they do the right thing there. Moving on to set number 6. Now, Secrets of Power. For the longest time, I've considered this the best set in the game, and for good reason. It is so good. The mechanics that it, introduce, things like plot, um, things where there's all sorts of officials. It's just disclosed. It's just so amazing. Secrets of Power is a super, super cool set. Capturing. Oh my gosh. The first really good deck I ever built was a Mon Mothma deck, and so I just fell in love with the mechanics involved, with the plotting. Not like plotting the card, no, like the actual idea of these plans that you're making, these things that you're setting in motion. it's political. It's political. That's the story of the set. You're a politician. You're Palpatine setting things up, right? You're you're using the Palpatine leader. His whole thing is you're using cards with plot, right? And like cards that have those abilities are rewarded by the leaders in the set. There's so much synergy. It's just so cool. It's super cool. And like, I wish that I had had the chance. I wish I had gotten into the game earlier because I would have loved the chance to do pre-release for Secrets of Power, because being able to just build a Mon Mothma deck with whatever officials were thrown in there, no matter their color, is just super cool. And like, when I'm building my Mon Mothma deck, there's a lot of officials I can use. Like, I can use Justice Investigators, I can use the Lone Shark, I can use the Junior Senator, but the vast majority of those, they're very specific, or they depend on other things that you're not going to have in the deck, and so most of them, they're not really playable in the deck. There's a set number of cards that are super playable in the deck. But having the opportunity to just say, okay, there's an official, I'll use that, and I can play it without an aspect penalty, and hopefully I have, something I can use to bring out and heal. If I get that Renowned Dignitaries, I can, boom, there's my healing. It's just super fun. It's a really good set. Secrets of Power, I think, because of the great mechanics, the really good card design, this has to go in S tier. It's got to be the first S tier, because like, I've always considered this to be the best set. It's so good. So good. Now, while we're on Secrets of Power, we also have to mention Intra Battle Hoth. Now, Intra Battle Hoth is not like a full set. It's considered a subset of Secrets of Power. It released in that part of the rotation block. It's like linked to Secrets of Power. Its legality is linked to Secrets of Power. It became legal when Secrets of Power was legal, and it will become out of rotation when Secrets of Power rotates out. So I have a special connection to Intra Battle Hoth because it's how I got into the game. I've mentioned it before. A friend of mine gifted it to us. The cards aren't super good. There's a few in there that are really good, but and they're widely played. But it was a really good introduction to the game, and it's easy, but it whets your appetite for the breadth and width of the game that gets better over time. So Intra Battle Hoth, I think, will be our first of the B tier. I will put it there because like there are really good cards in it. There were cards in it that I used in my Mon Mothma deck. They kind of fit together with it because, again, it's that same theme, if you will, of, it seems to be that same theme of some officials and stuff like that. But Intra Battle Hoth is obviously not great for competitive play, and so it's obviously not going to be any higher than that, and I feel like B tier is kind of generous anyway. So next up, we have a Lawless Time, set 7, correct? Set 7, yep. So when I got into the game, this was basically the current set, brand new when I started to play, and this is super cool. I really love multicolor cards, and I don't mean white and black, the heroism and villainy. I mean like blue red, blue green. I love blue green. You got green red, blue yellow, red yellow, all these super cool combinations that allow for cards that are really good, and a little powered above what you would expect in some ways, that are just super cool. I love them so much, and I really enjoy building decks using these cards. Like, I have a Grief Karga that uses nearly every yellow-red card in the game. I did it on my last video, one of my last videos. I'm working, I think, work on a deck that has all the blue-green cards. It's just super fun, and the mechanics of the card, adding, like, of the deck, of the set, we've got credit tokens, you've got all these bounty hunters, and all these crazy underworld figures and stuff. It's just a super, super cool set. Lawless Time, it was a brief period, but I really thought it was the best or second best. And I will have to give this also S tier. It's below Secrets of Power, but not by a lot. A lot of the cards, you have to think of some of the rares and the legendaries, which are not as good. Now, there are some great cards in there, like Liberty is still is still rather expensive. It's played in Lando, obviously. The Stranger's super valuable, really good card. You got Lawbringer. Those are some of the most expensive cards in the game right now, obviously. And so, Lawless Time is a really good set. And some of the things they introduce, like multicolor cards, credit tokens, just so fun. So fun. Love Lawless Time. Next up, we have, again, this isn't like a full set, if you will, as much as it is like, it's a set of pre-constructed Twin Suns decks. I'm going to include it just because, even though it's not legal in Premier, unfortunately, I was so mad. It is legal in Eternal, and I think that's cool. I'm glad they did that at least, because when my Mon Mothma rotates out of into Eternal, I'm going to be taking some stuff out of it and replacing it with some stuff from this, because there are some really good officials in there. King Katunko, Rush Clovis, who's the guy, the Mandalorian, Prime Minister Almec. There's some really cool officials in there that I cannot wait to use. There's a lot of great clones, a lot of great Jedi. Even like there's Maul cards. There's its own version of the Dark Saber. It's a really cool little set with some awesome cards. There's an Obi-Wan Kenobi in there that's so good. There's a Yoda in there that is really good. There's one card, it's a blue-green card, I think it's called Jindirian Valley. I think it's still like, what is it, $8 right now? And it's super valuable. And there's some really good cards in there. It is a shame that it's not Premier legal. But if it was, some of the cards in it would take over very quickly because they're really good. But yeah, there's just such fun stuff in it. It's a return to, like I mentioned before, a lot of like clones and Jedi. I really love it. I can't wait to start playing some of those in Eternal. Hopefully their prices will come down though, because a lot of the singles that are really good are super expensive because obviously there's only one of them in each precon. So Twin Suns, again, because it's not a full set, it can't go super high, but I do think I'm going to put it in the top of the B tier because some of the cards are just super good. If it was Premier legal, in that manner, it would probably have to top Legends of the Force, just because of how good it is. And we have set 8, the brand new set, Ashes of the Empire. Oh my gosh, I cannot say enough good things about Ashes of the Empire. When I was first starting to see some of the early things that we were seeing from this set, the early spoilers before the whole set came out, I was already thinking this is going to be a really, really good set. I'm so excited for Mandalorians. This is going to be awesome. And I can't say that my expectations were fulfilled because they were completely exceeded. The cards in this set are so good. They're so fun. The mechanics involved, the support mechanic, the advantage tokens. Like, at first I wasn't big on advantage tokens. The support seemed good, but it's okay. It's super cool, but like, I don't know if it's gonna be huge. Oh my gosh, they're both amazing, and they're both already like huge in some of the decks that I think are going to start to take over what are competitively played. Like Cad Bane is everywhere right now, and it's crazy. Grief Karga and Ezra Bridger are going to be huge in the aggro, and you've got support is already just helping you to do that action cheating. It's so cool, and like there's got to be some of the best spotlight decks in the game, especially Luke. Luke's amazing, and like I play Luke Green. I love him. He is so much fun, so controlly. He controls the game so well. Oh my word, I love Luke. But Ash of the Empire is so good. These cards are amazing. The thematic nature, they have the ability for us to actually create good Mandalorian synergy. Like obviously Bo-Katan is kind of horrible leader, but like I think she's super fun. I get to stick like the Mandalorian in there. I get to stick Koska Reeves in there. I get to stick the Mandalorian flagship, and oh my gosh, the Darksaber, which somehow I have 3 of. I pulled a playset of, like on my first night of pre-release, I pulled one. In my pre-release pack, it was a double rare. I was like, oh, nice, it's a rare. I'm like, oh, there it is. There's a Darksaber. I got a Darksaber. This is what I was looking for, right? And then I pulled one of the weekly plays. I pulled the weekly play foil of it in the promo packs because I'm like, oh, they pulled one of them, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get one, right? Then someone else pulled one. I'm like, oh, there it goes. I'm definitely not gonna get one. So I asked my friends, like, how many are there in this? Like, there's 3. There should be 3. I'm like, This could be it. Opened up my last pack. It was right there. So I have 3 Dark Sabers. I love the Dark Saber. It is so cool. Um, and it's probably going to be one of the most valuable non-unit cards in the game for a long time. It's very cool. Um, I love the Dark Saber. This is just such a good set. This just completely blew me away. So the cards are awesome. The leaders are amazing. Like obviously there's a couple that are just not great. Like I'm looking at you, Fennec Shand. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It would be so much fun to use red yellow cards and make your ability work to have ready units, but like it's just not playable. Oh my gosh. That was really bad. But the vast majority of the other leaders are kind of cool. Even the ones that aren't great, they're really cool. Fennec's just not cool, I'm afraid. But the armor, like for example, is just super cool. Even if she's probably not going to be very competitive, she's really cool. And the other leaders, there's leaders in here that are just amazing. You're thinking about like Grief, Luke, Cad, Ezra. It's going to be a blast playing with these, and I'm super excited now that they're legal. I love this set. I don't know if you're going to be surprised by this. This has got to go right at the top of the S tier. It is such a good set. It's so good. I love it. I love it. Now, before we move on, I want to reshuffle a little bit. I think that what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to push Legends of the Force down here to the B tier. And then we're going to put a Lawless Time at the top of the A tier. Just because I just want to kind of reorder things a little bit. Lawless, I'm thinking back through, it's like, I don't think it deserves necessarily to be on the same tier as Ashes and Secrets. They're just so good. They introduce such good mechanics. Yeah. Now, Homeworlds. This is going to be the next set. It has not come out yet. In fact, even though we have already seen some cards from Icons, we have not yet seen a single card from Homeworlds that I'm aware of. There may be sort of like one that we may have seen. I might have heard tell like a Sam Wessel. I'm not sure. If you know, let me know. But I haven't seen a single card from Homeworlds, and I'm kind of salty about it. Like, okay, you're showing me Icons cards. I don't want to see Icons cards. That's not coming up yet. I can't get those for another, what is it, like another 4 or 5 months now? Like, I want to see the things I can get in September. I want to see Homeworlds, right? Um, I'm not, obviously, we haven't seen these sets yet. But based on what we think they're going to be or what we've already seen of them, I'm going to put these where I think they are going to wind up on the tier list. And then once they come out, maybe we'll revisit them and see, did they wind up where I thought they would, right? Homeworlds to start with. Homeworlds is probably, like, everything that I've heard, everything that we've theorized, it just appears to be something that's going to be very themed around Homeworld, right? Think about, like, the biomes thing on Disney Plus, where you're thinking about this world of its location, its environment, the specific cultures and creatures and ecology, species, right? Um, Political entities, specific vehicles, right? This is probably going to be very much tribal, very trait driven. That's generally the vibe that we're getting. And I hope that's the case because that would be super cool. I love trait decks, decks that are thematic. It's my favorite thing to do. I would rather use a card that's a little worse that fits the deck thematically than use one that's better most of the time. Obviously, in my Vader deck, I'm using a Dornian gunship because it's good. Okay, even though it is a rebel, I don't really care that much, right? But I really love to build decks that are super thematic, and I think this could be one of those sets that's going to help that become a reality, just like Ashes has. Ashes really has, like, so many good Imperial units, so many good Rebel units, so many good Mandalorian units. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! And there's a little bit of Skeleton Crew too, which is fun. Unfortunately, there's I don't know if I don't think so, but like when people were making like um cards to, like, have some of the characters from Skeleton Crew, some fictional cards, a lot of them they would have like the Ad-Atten trait, and none of the cards from Skeleton Crew and Ashes have that. I think that's something I generally have a qualm with over a lot of stuff is just bad trading, like trading with the traits. Like, for example, there's an ATST Raider in Ashes of the Empire that's not Imperial. It's like the Warzone Lieutenant in, is it Shadows, I think? That's not an Imperial. Like, there's another one, Duchess's Investigators from Secrets of Power. Why is that not an official unit? Like, it's Mandalorian. Why isn't it Mandalorian official? Like, it writes itself, you know? So I do think that, and another thing, I know this is crazy, but like, and there's not that many cards, but like, I wish there was like a Pantoran trait. Think about like Senator Tucci, the Pantoran Starship Thief. Eventually, there's probably going to be enough Pantorans to make a semi-thematic deck. Maybe, right? And so, like, I wish they were a little more comprehensive with their traits, just a little bit, like a tiny bit. I can't remember. There was another one that I was just like, why isn't it also like? Oh, I know what it is. The Darksaber is a Mandalorian item weapon, not a Mandalorian item weapon lightsaber. That bothers me. I know why, but it bothers me. Like, I want to stick that on General Grievous. Come on, bro. Come on. So, yeah, anyway, because of that, based on all that, I think that Homeworlds will probably wind up being somewhere about right here. Now, the reason, it's obviously piloting. That just keeps Lightspeed just so good. And I think a Lawless Time really introduced those double color cards, and that really is huge, and I think that sets that apart as well. Because I think we'll like bump Spark down a little bit. Icons. Talk about icons. Icons looks like it's gonna be fun. Now, icons is gonna be something that's gonna be targeted toward people new to the game. In fact, that's why they're making the booster pack smaller. They're creating a starter set that's almost identical to IPH. Like, I think, isn't it literally Leia and Vader again? It's just so funny. I, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But like, we have a new color Vader, I guess. I think, right? Is he blue or something, or is he yellow? I don't know. I don't know. But um, it appears like it's going to be designed to be easily accessible. It's going to return to familiar mechanics, and then try to have some things in it that are going to be competitive. Now, this could go one of two ways. Either it could wind up being surprisingly competitive. Some of its cards could wind up being like a second Lawless Time, where there's some really good cards, and then there's some cards that are okay. The other option is it might wind up being kind of a glorified IBH, where this is really just something for people that are starting to get into the game, and very few of the cards will wind up making it into competitive play. But the other thing to realize is that a lot of the mechanics and card designs and even individual cards are things that I think are being brought back from Spark of Rebellion, and even I think Shadows of the Galaxy. So some of those early things are coming back. Things like double color cards, I think, are dual color cards. Yellow, yellow, green, green, red, red. Those appear to be coming back, which is good. I support that. Please bring back more dual color cards. It's so much fun. Double green's awesome. Why are all the double greens out of rotation? Please reprint some of them. Please print more. Um, but and while we're on the topic, triple color cards be cool. Triple color cards, please. Blue, red, green. Let's incentivize some Armorer, Fennec Shan, Tobias Beckett, and Saw Gerrera use. Let's incentivize some people to use those cards or splash these cards. Let's make them, very powerful. Kind of hard to fit into a deck. But I think that Icons is going to bring back some really cool stuff. It's going to introduce some. But for the most part, I think the real draw of this is going to be that it's going to be a return to some simple goodness of Spark of Rebellion and a lot of really iconic characters. Does it have the potential to not be great in terms of competitiveness? Possibly. But, I mean, we won't know that until we see it. Where do I think it's going to fall? I think it's going to be better than it's obviously going to be better than Intrabattle Hoth. I'm going to put it probably here. I think I'm going to have to rate it higher than Twin Suns, but not Legends of the Force. So we're going to put it right there. I think we'll adjust Intrabattle Hoth to the top of C tier, which I think makes good sense. And I think that's the final tier list. I don't think I have any other changes to make. Do you have any opinions on that? Maybe I got that totally wrong. Let me know. I think that's Pretty good. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I think that's how I see it. Well, thanks so much for watching. We'll probably do some more of these tier lists, some more new decks, some more testing, and I look forward to seeing you here next time. Thanks. Bye bye.